Once we get that basic principle down, life is very straightforward except for one concept. And it's a concept that is referred to as accrual accounting. And it is a fundamental principle behind accounting where you don't need to know everything about accounting that there is to know, but it is useful to be able to understand accrual accounting uh, when you're dealing with your treasurer. Accrual accounting is about when we are going to show revenue as revenue and when we're going to show expenses as expenses. Now, if you are a rookie and you're looking at this for the first time, you say, "Oh, our tithe income was 5,874,785." You would see that and you would think we brought in uh, that amount of cash in tithe, or we brought in 97,000 in cash donations. And down on the expense side, you say, "Oh, we paid our workers 6,409." Well, unfortunately, that is not correct. Okay. And so what the beginner looks at this is this was the money we brought in. We brought in 7 million to 12 of income, and we paid out 10 million. But that's not the way accounting works. Okay, so fasten your seatbelt. It's very straightforward, but it is a little bit different. Accrual accounting says we are going to record revenue as it is earned, not as it is collected. And we're going to record and we're going to match expenses to that revenue. Basically, we are going to record expenses when we use up something. Okay? Slightly different than when we paid for it. A real good example would be over in the schools. And so allow me to give you, I think it will be clearer than trying to explain it in, in the union, but let me just explain it over in the schools. A good example there. Okay, we have some students that pay in advance of the month, and we have some students that pay during the month, and we have some students that pay after the month. Okay, but the tuition bill for the month is $100,000. Well, we will show $100,000 as tuition income, whether we have gotten the money or not. Okay, so the fact that some pay in advance, some pay during the month, and some pay after the month is not affecting the amount we show as income for November. So no, some people pay before November, some people pay during November, and some people pay after November, but we earn it in November by teaching the students. So we'll record all of the payments before, during, and after that have to do in November. They're all recorded as income for November. Okay. So we're not a victim of whether people are paying slow or fast when it comes to us measuring our better offness. Okay. Our better offness occurs because we earn the money, not because of the timing of the students paying us. And the same thing is true with expenses. We could pay some of our teachers that taught in November before November and pay some of them during November and pay some of them paid after November. But we are worse off because we paid teachers, and when we pay it should not be manipulated. How much worse off we are should not be able to be manipulated based on when we paid them. We're worse off because we hired them to teach. Worse off is sort of a brutal word of describing, but have less financially because we hired them to teach. And so that's the way accrual accounting works. We are going to put revenue in the period in which we have earned it, and we're going to match our expenses to that earning period Usually that means when we've used up a service, when we've received a service. Okay, so we could see some examples coming back to this union example, union financial statements right in front of us. This employment related expense of 6409558 is not what we paid the workers, it's what we owe them because they worked during this time period. Okay? We have a photocopier that we rent. When we paid for the photocopier is not when it becomes an expense. It becomes expense during the month we use the photocopier, made the copies. Okay, so this is a sort of a basic principle of way accountants work. It probably is less important in a nonprofit than it is in a for-profit organization. It's very important in for-profit accounting and measuring the success of a business. Maybe it's less of an issue, but it's still something that we have to follow as accountants. And so it probably is not a big deal, but we do things like, for example, donations are recorded based on when someone promised to pay us, not necessarily having it in hand. Okay, the conference, the church has collected the tithe. The conference records it, even though they haven't gotten the money from the church yet. Okay, so the church collected tithe in December and sent it to the conference in January. The conference records it as tithe income in December, even though they don't actually get the cash until January. So that sort of fits into what we're doing here. So I hope you sort of get a sense of this accrual accounting. I don't blame you at all if you say, I understand it. I don't understand why they do it, but that is what accountants do. We feel like it gives us a better measurement of better offness than just looking at cash flows. So thank you for that.